I knew something was wrong the second I turned onto my street. It wasn't obvious at first, nothing dramatic. No flashing lights, no crowd. Just a feeling that hit me in the chest before my brain caught up. The driveway looked off. The shape was right. The stance was right. But the color wasn't. I slowed the truck to a crawl, eyes narrowing, heart starting to thud harder than it should have. That couldn't be my car. I pulled over, got out, and stood there for a second, longer than normal. Long enough for the silence to feel loud. Long enough for my hands to grow without me realizing it. My Chevrolet Camaro sat in my driveway exactly where I left it that morning. Same position, same wheels, same plate. But the deep factory midnight blue I'd spent years preserving was gone. Boom. In its place was a flat, chalky beige. Not even evenly done. Brush strokes were visible along the door panels. Overspray clouded the headlights. The black trim around the windows was speckled like someone had sneezed paint across it. I walked closer, slow, like the car might disappear if I moved too fast. My fingers touched the hood. The surface felt rough, gritty, cheap. I remember breathing out through my nose and realizing I hadn't taken a full breath since I parked. I'd owned that car for 14 years. A 2014 Camaro Z, 28, low miles. Garage kept, original paint documented. It wasn't just a car. It was something I worked for when my career was still uncertain. When my name didn't carry weight yet. I'd turned down offers north of 150 without blinking. And someone had painted it. In my driveway, I didn't yell, didn't swear. I just stood there staring, trying to understand how something like this could even happen. Then I heard footsteps on the sidewalk. "Heard you were back," a woman said. I turned. She was mid-40s, maybe early 50s. Sunglasses too big for her face. Phone already in her hand. Screen facing outward like it was part of her uniform. She smiled. But it didn't reach her eyes. "This is your vehicle, correct?" she asked. I nodded once. It was. She tilted her head, assessing me the way people do when they think they're in charge. "Well, you're welcome." I looked at her, waited. She gestured toward the car. "The board approved corrective action this morning." It was in violation. In violation of what? I asked. She sighed, already annoyed. Community standards. Section 8.4, Non-compliant vehicle appearance. The color was aggressive, not in harmony with the neighborhood aesthetic. I felt something tighten behind my ribs. "You painted my car." "Yes," she said, like she was confirming the weather. "You weren't responding to notices." "What notices?" She scrolled on her phone. "You should have received 2 warnings. One informal, one formal." I shook my head slowly. "I didn't." "Well, they were sent," she said. "And frankly, this saved you a fine." I glanced around. A couple of neighbors had paused their walks. One guy across the street stood half hidden behind his garage door, pretending not to watch. "Who painted it?" I asked. "Our maintenance contractor," she said. "They're licensed." I crouched near the rear wheel. Paint had pooled around the tire. The brake caliper was speckled beige. "You painted over factory paint," I said quietly. She shrugged. It was faded. I stood back up and looked at her for a long moment. "Did anyone ask for my permission?" Her lips pressed together. HOA authority supersedes individual preference when violations are ignored. I let that hang. "Did anyone knock on my door today?" I asked. "No," she said. "You weren't home, so you entered my property." She crossed her arms. "We didn't enter your home. You altered private property without consent." She laughed. "Actually laughed, sir. This isn't a criminal issue. It's an HOA matter." That word, sir. The way she said it. I nodded slowly. "What's your name?" She hesitated. Just a flicker. "Why? Because I'm asking." "Pamela Henderson," she said. "HOA compliance officer." I took my phone out and started taking pictures. Wide shots, close-ups. The hood, the trim, the wheels. She bristled. "You can stop that. I'm documenting damage," I said. "You don't need to," she snapped. "The work order is already logged." "Perfect," I said. "I'll need that." Her eyes narrowed. "For what?" I looked up at her. "For the report." She scoffed. "You're going to call the police over the paint?" I didn't answer. She leaned in slightly, lowering her voice. "Let me give you some advice. If you escalate this, it won't go the way you think. The board doesn't like pushback." Across the street, someone's garage door slid fully open. A woman stepped out, arms folded tight against her chest. I straightened. "Who authorized this?" "The board," Pamela said, unanimously. "Names?" She hesitated again. Longer this time. "That information isn't public. It will be." Her jaw tightened. "You're being difficult." I almost smiled. Almost. "Did your contractor have a permit?" I asked. She waved her hand. "They don't need one. It's cosmetic." "Did they block traffic? Use solvents? Power equipment?" She stared at me. "Why are you asking these questions?" I slipped my phone back into my pocket, because I want everything to be clear. She exhaled sharply. "Look, if you're unhappy with the color, you can submit a request to repaint it within approved guidelines. There's a form." "You repainted a $150,000 vehicle," I said, "without consent." She rolled her eyes. "You keep throwing that number around like it matters." "It does. To you," she said, "not to us." I heard an engine behind me. A white pickup rolled slowly down the street, ladder rack rattling. It stopped a few houses down. 2 men sat inside, watching. Pamela noticed my glance and smirked. "They're just here in case you calm down and want to talk about options." I took a breath, deep, controlled. "Pamela," I said, "I'm asking you one last time. Who approved this?" She straightened her shoulders. "I did. Under board authority." Nodded. "Okay." She smiled, satisfied. "Good then, we're done here." I reached into my wallet, pulled out my badge. "Hold it low, between us. Not flashy. Just enough." Her smile froze. The color drained from her face in a way that didn't look rehearsed at all. That's not funny," she said. "It's not a joke," I replied. Her mouth open-closed. I said, very calmly, "I'm the police chief." The street went quiet. Pamela swallowed. You should have said something." I looked back at my car, the beige pink catching the sun like an insult. "You shouldn't have touched it." She stared at the badge like it might suddenly turn into something else if she looked long enough. "I didn't know," she said, the words tumbling over each other. "If I had known, that's the point," I said. My voice stayed level. "To level, maybe, you didn't need to know." The HOA truck down the street shut off its engine. One of the men leaned forward, forearms on the steering wheel, eyes locked on us. Pamela cleared her throat. "This doesn't have to be formal." I slid the badge back into my wallet. "It already is." She took a step closer, lowering her voice again. "We can fix this, repaint it properly. On our dime." "You already painted it," I said. "That damage is done." She glanced at the car like she was seeing it clearly for the first time. The streaks, the ruined trim, the careless brush marks. "We were acting in good faith," she said. I looked at her. Good faith doesn't include trespass. A door opened 2 houses down. Another neighbor stepped out. No phone up. Just watching. Quiet. Pamela clasped her hands together. "If this goes any further, the board will want to be involved." "They already are," I said. "Whether they realize it or not." Her jaw tightened. "You're threatening us." I shook my head. "I'm documenting a crime." That word hit differently. I saw it in her eyes. She straightened. "This is an HOA enforcement action. It stopped being that when paint touched my car." Silence stretched. the kind that makes people uncomfortable. I let it. She finally spoke. "What do you want?" I met her gaze. "Names, the contractor, the invoices, the notices you claim were sent." "Everything." She hesitated. "I'll have to check with the law." "Do that," I said. "But don't leave." Her eyes widened. "You can't detain me." "I'm not," I said. "I met, but I am calling this in." I stepped a few feet away and made the call. Not to patrol, to my deputy chief. By the book. Clear conflict, separation. Pamela watched every second. Arms wrapped tight around herself now. When I hung up, she exhaled sharply. "This is unbelievable." "It really is," I said. 2 officers arrived 15 minutes later. Calm, professional. They parked at the curb, stepped out, and nodded at me without ceremony. Pamela's voice went high. "This is ridiculous. He's using his position." One of the officers looked at her. "Ma'am, we're here to make a statement." Her confidence faltered. "I don't have to give one." "That's your right," he said evenly, "but we'll still document what we see." They walked to the car, took photos, noted the damage. One of them ran a finger lightly over the paint and frowned. "This wasn't sprayed," he said quietly. "Looks hand-applied." Pamela jumped in. "Our contractor assured us." The officer held up a hand. "We'll speak to them." She looked at me again. "You're really doing this?" I didn't answer. The HOA truck started up. Slowly pulled away. "Stop that vehicle," I said, not raising my voice. One officer turned. "Sir, that's the contractor," I said. They were involved. The officer nodded once and radioed it in. Pamela's face went pale again. "You can't." "We can." The officer said. Things moved after that. Not fast, just steady. The contractor didn't have a permit, didn't have authorization to be on my property, didn't have any written directive beyond a vague text message from Pamela that read, "Go ahead." That text got quiet fast. The board president arrived 20 minutes later. Older man, expensive watch. Measured tone. "This is a misunderstanding," he said after introductions. I looked at him. "Your association damaged my vehicle." He glanced at Pamela. She avoided his eyes. "We'll handle restitution," he said. "There's no need for escalation." I shook my head. "That decision isn't yours anymore." His expression tightened. "Surely we can resolve this internally." "You already tried that," I said. The officers finished their report. Names were taken, statements recorded. Pamela stopped talking halfway through hers and asked for an attorney. The board president sighed. "This will get messy." "It already is," I said. Over the next few days, it unraveled. Slowly, inevitably. The notices Pamela claimed were sent didn't exist. The contractor wasn't licensed for automotive work, or paint, or anything involving solvents. Turns out this wasn't the first time she'd taken initiative. A fence stained without permission. A mailbox replaced. A motorcycle moved. Most residents hadn't pushed back. It was easier not to. My Chevrolet Camaro went to a specialist. The original paint couldn't be saved. Too much abrasion. Too much contamination. The estimate came back higher than I expected. Not because of luxury, because of restoration, because of loss. The HOA's insurance denied the claim. Unauthorized action, gross negligence. The board called an emergency meeting. I didn't attend. Pamela resigned 3 days later. Not publicly, just gone. Civil filings followed. Quietly, methodically. Neighbors started stopping me on walks. To congratulate, to tell me stories, to ask questions, to say things like, "I thought it was just me." One afternoon, weeks later, I stood in the garage looking at the Chevrolet Camaro. Fresh paint, perfectly matched, deeper than before, but not the same. I ran my hand along the hood. It felt smooth, correct, restored. Still, something lingered. Not anger, not pride. Just the weight of knowing how easily lines get crossed when people think no one will stop them. I shut the garage door and stood there a moment longer than necessary, listening to the quiet, thinking about how close that line had come to never being redrawn at all.